And in the end, it was the kid from Notre Dame, Steve Angeli, who's going to get the job and get the start against Tennessee. Um, we've been grinding tape all day. We've been taking a look at some of his past performances. And I'm super excited about him because he just seems like a guy who's going to have a great grasp of how to run an offense, who's going to be able to pass the ball, and we'll see what upside there is that is potentially untapped.
You're watching Domed in Cuse, the quick hit podcast for real Orange fans. If you love Cuse sports, hit like and subscribe. Let's go Orange.
All right. Welcome back. Domed in Pod. It's the news of the summer.
It's what we've been waiting. The day has arrived. The day has arrived.
Steve Angeli named starting quarterback at your Syracuse Orange. First, I have to address, I know I'm a little sunburnt right now. I'm out here in the Cape having a beautiful time, but we had to hop on the pod mid-vacation just to talk Syracuse because this is big news. And I think the main thing is we're both really excited. Dart, accountability. I've been a Ricky Collins guy thinking, hey, a running quarterback. I always like a running quarterback in college. But, what's become very evident through this camp battle is that I think Syracuse has two really great options at quarterback. And, we have two guys from big programs, LSU and Notre Dame, who came in to compete. And in the end, it was the kid from Notre Dame, Steve Angeli, who's going to get the job and get the start against Tennessee. We've been grinding tape all day. We've been taking a look at some of his past performances. And I'm super excited about him because he just seems like a guy who's going to have a great grasp of how to run an offense, who's going to be able to pass the ball. And we'll see what upside there is that is potentially untapped.
Agreed. I mean, I think regardless, it's an exciting day as a Cuse football fan, right? It's like this is the decision we've been waiting for all summer, honestly, since the news that Angeli was transferring in late in the spring after kind of realizing, right, that the Notre Dame job was probably not going to go his way and that he needed to probably seek another opportunity. And obviously landed here with Coach Nunn's friendly face for him, obviously played for his brother in high school. But I think this is exciting. Again, we've talked about this, there haven't been many times recently where we've had two guys with this sort of pedigree competing for a job here at Cuse, right? I think we're fresh off the Kyle McCord era. I think the fan base is really starving for some consistent quarterback play now. I think that having that last year, I think it's just something that the fan base is going to want to grow accustomed to. I think it's a brand of football that people want to gravitate to. And I think this is just an exciting day for obviously the program. And look, it may not be the last of this battle. It's something we've talked about. Obviously, Angeli's going to get the first crack at this. And I don't think we will see. I think we'll probably see some Ricky Collins here the first few weeks. I don't think this is necessarily
definitely against Colgate. Definitely, we'll see him against 100%, Colgate.
100%.
So we'll have a chance to see what he looks like too. But let's dive into Angeli real quick. I think let's start with the most important thing, and I think something that was probably a big differential between the two, which was Angeli's appearance in the semifinal. I rewatched that whole 2-minute drive today. And the first thing that I'll say is, he was going up against the best pass rush defense in the country last year. In a situation down 10-0, 2-minute drill, they knew they were passing the ball. So he knew he was going to go against the pass rush of Carter, who even on one arm was just abusing Notre Dame offensive linemen. And obviously the number one pick for what he did in the playoff, because that's really where he stood out at the end of the year. And then denied Dennis Sutton, who's also just an absolute monster. So, he came in a tough spot. He drove him down the field. A few throws that I wanted to highlight. Third and 5 or so, he comes in. It was the second or third play he had in the. I think it was the second play he had in the drive, and he makes a beautiful throw on a slant, hitting a guy quickly up the middle for about an 8-yard, 10-yard gain. That was beautiful. He had another one on 3rd and 1. So 3rd and 1, he knew pressure was coming. He hit the back in the flat, beautiful, awareness of what was happening. And right before that, actually, they had lined up Carter as a linebacker. You can hear the broadcast call that out.
Yeah.
And then you see Angeli change something up at the line, and they get Penn State actually to jump offside. And that's the kind of thing I think that probably separated Angeli from Collins, is that kind of experience, that kind of command of the offense. And then finally, which I thought might have been his best play of the drive, is the last play when he takes a sack because the center who had come in snapped the ball way out of the way, and Jelly's able to knock it down, take a hit,
Got a
and
timeout.
control the ball,
Yeah.
take the timeout, you get the field goal. Just an excellent job by him coming in such a high leverage situation.
Totally agree. And it sounds silly to obviously grasp onto this. There's not a ton of tape out there on him. And then obviously I think just being able to take away what you can from, frankly, as high leverage of a situation as you could possibly be in. I think the biggest takeaway is he was calm. He was really calm when he came into that game, and he kind of honestly settled Notre Dame into that game. They were all over the place early in that game. Like, Riley Leonard was candidly horrible up until that point, and then it kind of turned on for him, frankly, after Angeli came in. And it was kind of a controversial decision, honestly, to bring Riley Leonard back into that game at one point, and then he played well in the second half. But
I mean, we were texting about it, and I was saying to you, keep Angeli in the game at the time, because I was like, this Angeli kid can actually throw the ball. At least
gave him some juice in the air, you know? And I think, like, you hit on a lot of things that I think are likely what won him the job, right? This is someone who came in the game, shows he had a master of the offense, right? He's not making crazy plays, but he's coming in, he's making quick reads, getting the ball out of his hands quickly, and making sure that ball gets distributed and out against maybe the best defensive line in the country last year. Additionally, I mean, I think what's also impressive is there's clearly a ton of pre-snap reads that he can handle at the line of scrimmage, and even in that limited sample size, you're seeing that. And I think that obviously...
That's why I spotlighted the Carter one, because you could see, I think it was Greg McElroy on the broadcast, literally circles Carter. He's like, he's a linebacker. He's going to blitz. And for Angeli to have come in the game in that situation, to have recognized that, and you could see them switch something up based on that, and then they end up getting the offsides because Sutton jumps offside. But that's the kind of awareness that we want to see from our quarterback that gives Fran that confidence, because Fran talks about it a lot. Fran wants the quarterback to be his right-hand man. It was what he loved about Kyle. Kyle could go out there and Kyle could call all the plays last year.
Yeah.
And I think that extended our offense. So, you know, when you see some of that stuff, it's pretty electric. And then the other tape that we were able really to grind is that Oregon State game. So, obviously, Oregon State, they lose, what was his name? Jonathan Smith or whatever the hell his name was.
Michigan State.
He ends up leaving. And so they had a bunch of guys transfer. That was the year when DJU was there, and they were really, really good. But then everybody leaves, and it's kind of a shell of a team, a skeleton crew in a bowl game. So it's hard to take away too much from that game. But you do see some things in that game that impress you. A deep throw down the right side. Him early in the game identifying a guy, Faison, who's wide open, and hitting the open guy, and that's all we're going to ask him to do.
Ripping it. Like, steps into a throw 35 yards downfield on the right sideline. Like, this is a guy, look, I don't think he's necessarily got Kyle McCord arm talent, but I think he can make enough throws. I think he can make enough throws to run a real offense, you know?
And that's the other thing. He's not Kyle McCord talent. He's not Ricky Collins or, Jalen Milroe on the ground, but there's that clip of him rolling out, 2nd and 15, lowering the shoulder, taking a guy on. And I know it was, a skeleton crew from Oregon State, not necessarily the best competition, but it kind of shows this guy's a gamer, too. He gets it. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
So that's the stuff that's impressive. Anything else stand out to you, Tav, when we were watching?
I think it's a lot of that. I mean, I think it's the ball comes out quick. I think that's the biggest thing, is the ball does come out quick. The other thing I think I do like a bit is I think we're going to be able to have some continuity with some concepts that we ran last year. Guys, quick hitters over the middle. Guy like Trevor Pena honestly probably would have feasted with a guy like Angeli. So that's a conversation for another day.
I think Dan Villari's a guy who's going to feast with Angeli.
Yeah. And I the other thing I think quickly notice is he's a guy who plays tall. He's maybe 6'2", 6'3". He's not a bad size for a quarterback, but he does play upright. It's a high release point. The ball comes out at a good spot. There's not a lot of balls getting tipped at the line of scrimmage. He's a high completion percentage guy, which I think is also important there.
We were talking about this. You have a good comp for him.
I do. I mean, to me, honestly, I can't unsee the Jimmy Garoppolo comparison. Like a young Jimmy G, maybe a slightly quicker release on Jimmy G, but very similar posture in the quarter, like in the pocket, quick decisions, making quick reads, strong mastery of the concepts in his offense. He knows where the ball is supposed to be going before the ball is snapped. And I think we're going to see a lot, I think, of quick reads from the pocket, getting guys in space, ball in the hands of playmakers. Let's get moving and see if we can get some yak yards here.
And the other thing, as I was grinding the tape that I think I saw too is the rollouts, right?
Exactly.
We saw a few times him
Love
rolling
this.
out. There's one clip of him playing Pitt 2 years ago where he's rolling out actually to his left. And obviously it's a blowout game where he's come in for Notre Dame at the end of the game, but he rolls out left and he finds the tight end deep down down the field in the end zone, and he makes a great throw. And again, it's kind of the idea of when he sees the open guy, he recognizes that and he can make that throw. So we'll see. My question really with him is, does he have the Kyle McCord upside? Obviously, he doesn't quite have the arm talent, but there were a few times where Kyle could have taken a check down on a guy maybe a little bit more open, and then he finds a guy deep. The Georgia Tech play where he has a Rondé Gadsden pop open and he waits a second and sees Pena deep down the field and he takes that kind of patience, that kind of quarterback play is like the next level, going from being like a solid type player to that NFL level player. And we haven't seen enough of Angeli to know that. He is able to rip it deep down the right. Can he rip it deep down the middle? We'll see.
Agreed. But I do think some of the rollout stuff is encouraging. It just shows he is comfortable throwing in places that aren't just as a statue in the pocket, right? We're at least going to be able to give defenses some different looks, move coverages a little bit, which I think is good. But like you said, there's just not a lot of tape, and of the tape that's out there's not a ton of that pushing the ball down the middle of the field, layering balls, under deep safeties beyond linebackers and things like that, which may just need to come here. We may see some of that, but again, I think
that's the next level. So even if he can't do that, he can do a lot of solid stuff. One
100%.
thing that comes to mind is like Kyle with Jackson Meeks against Miami. They kind of brought a blitz. Guy comes free off the edge. Kyle knows that guy's coming, and he throws it directly to where that guy is supposed to be, and Meeks is on a slant. And Kyle's understanding of defense and offense and where the ball needs to be and who's coming free, that's what Angeli, I think, can do. So, it's those kind of plays where he's going to be somewhat similar to Kyle, right? Like recognizing a blitz, recognizing to get the ball behind the guy who's blitzing to a receiver who's either one-on-one or open.
Yeah, one thing, and on that topic too, is one thing that does pop out watching his tape is on those short intermediate throws, the ball is right in the chest. He hits spots. He is a very accurate short passer, and that's going to be critical. Like that, he's not missing guys a yard behind. It's not coming in low. He's hitting guys in stride, 6 yards slants, catch and run, which I think is going to be a big part of the offense.
There was one play in the semifinal, again a third down, where he got the ball to the tight end. And that to me was like, that's where Villari could potentially eat, because it was a short route and the tight end just kind of went on an out route, got the first down, quick throw. Again, what you're saying, like a little bit of pressure, but he gets the ball to the right spot, right on the tight end, where he can make an easy catch, get the first down, get out of bounds. And, Villari, I think, had a little bit of a tougher year last year, but I think he was running more complicated routes, more of the Gadsden type routes. But I think this year we can hopefully put him in a position to succeed a little bit more. And those are the kind of plays that I think Angeli's going to find him in.